Hello, everybody. Today we're going to talk about quotation marks, which are also sometimes called speech marks. That makes a little bit of sense. People in England refer to these as speech marks because really the quotation marks show you what's being spoken. So they call them speech marks. And in some videos, you might see them refer to them as speech marks instead of quotation marks. They also call a period a full stop because when the sentence comes to an end, it came to a full stop. We're not going to keep moving. We're going to come completely to a stop. So sometimes in videos, you will see or hear them say speech marks and full stops, which means quotation marks and periods. So let's talk a little bit about quotation marks. When we were learning about quotation marks, we learned that the first thing we need to do is find the speaker tag. The word that tells me what the speaker is doing. The word that tells me that the speaker is actually saying something. It could be said, asked, yelled, screamed. There are lots of different words we can use for a speaker tag. Now, when you have a speaker tag, it shows sometimes that someone is saying exactly what was said with their quotation marks. And what I mean by that is when you have a sentence that says, she said hello to him, did she really say hello to him? Or is she just doing the act of greeting them? Direct speech is when the person that's writing it is telling you exactly what the person said. So direct speech is when you are told exactly what they said. Example, she said, hi. That would make sense for her to say, hi. That is an example of direct speech. Indirect speech would be when the writer is saying or telling you what they did. For example, the man hollered out a greeting. He hollered out a greeting. He didn't holler and say a greeting. No, he would have said hello or welcome. So if it says something like the man hollered out a greeting, our other video said, look after our speech tags and see if it makes sense. In that case, it doesn't, and that's called indirect speech. So then here are some rules about when to use quotation marks when the speaker tag is at the start of the sentence. First, we find that speaker tag. Second, is it direct speech or indirect speech? After the speaker tag, the words that are coming after it, does it make sense that someone would say exactly that? Or is that group of words coming after it kind of telling you what was spoken, but not the exact words? I have some examples here and we'll look at them. If it is direct speech, we're going to put that comma after the speaker tag. Then we're going to put quotation marks around whatever was said, whatever was spoken. And then finally, we're going to make sure that the period, the question mark, or the exclamation point are tucked inside the quotation marks. They come inside of it. My period here is because I'm at the end of my sentence that I wrote, not showing where it goes. So we want to put the period or the question mark or the exclamation point inside of the quotation marks or the words that were said. We want to put them inside with those words that were said, not outside. And this is only for when we're talking about placing quotation marks around the speaker tags that come at the beginning of the sentence. So I don't have a lot of practice here for us today. I've got a couple. Couple means two. And then you've got something else to do. So this is just kind of a quick review. So here I have my sentence. The loud boy shouted in the dark room. Step number 1 says, find my speaker tag. What is it? You're right. He shouted. The loud boy shouted. Shouted would be the word that tells us that he's saying something. Okay, so what did he shout? In the dark room. Is that something that you would shout? In the dark room. Not normally. This is indirect or not direct speech. That's not what he said. He didn't shout out in the dark room. So, do I need quotation marks here? The answer here is no. No quotation marks are needed. No quotation marks or speech marks are needed in this sentence because this is indirect speech. It's not really what he said. So, what did he really say? If we have the direct speech, then we would have a sentence that would say something like this. The loud boy in the room shouted, comma. Now I'm going to separate from what he shouted from his action, from my speaker tag. And I separate with that comma. And then he said, get out of here. That's what he really shouted. He didn't shout in the dark room. We could say the loud boy in the dark room shouted, get out of here. All right, I got one more for you. And then I want you to go ahead and play your Kahoot or whatever practice your teacher has for you. The terrified girl whispered for me to go get help. This is another example of, that's right, indirect speech. She's not really saying this. How do I know? Well, let's first thing, find our speaker tag. What is the word in my sentence that tells me she's speaking or saying something out loud? Yeah, whispered. The terrified girl whispered. Well, what did she whisper? For me to go get help. Is that something that your friend would whisper to you if they need help? If they need help, they turn to you and they say, for me to go get help. What? For me to go get help? No, that's not what they would say. So, no, I don't need quotation marks here because this is once again indirect. That's not what they were saying. Direct means what they said directly to me. And what did the girl say directly to me? The terrified girl whispered, comma, quotation marks, go get help, close quotation marks. Notice my period is inside, tucked inside of the quotation marks. And the comma comes right after my speaker tag. All righty. Well, I hope this maybe clarified a little bit for you. Remember, these can be called quotation marks or speech marks. This is a period, or it could be called a full stop because what the girl said stopped right there. There's nothing else coming. It came to a full and complete stop. All right. Well, you have a good day.